Welcome back, my poets, to Poetry 101. This week we are talking about nonsense poetry. And you might think, oh, wow, that's super easy. I just write something that doesn't make any sense, call it nonsense, nonsense poems, we're done for the day. All right, see you in the next video. Not exactly. Nonsense poetry is a fine line. It's not complete, utter, makes no sense, but it's also not super deep and has a lot of meaning. It is somewhere in the middle. It is a very fine line to walk. That doesn't mean that this is super hard and you should immediately give up and stop watching this video. Obviously, I don't want that. What it does mean is it is harder than you think it is, but not really that hard. A good example of this in modern media is the song Music for a Sushi Restaurant by Harry Styles. We have lines such as green eyes, fried rice, I could cook an egg on you, and excuse me, green tea, music for a sushi restaurant. And you're sitting here like, what does that mean? But then, like, if you stop and think about it, there's some sort of meaning there. I get this idea of like a guy on a date and he's just like listing things he sees. So it's like, she has green eyes, we're eating fried rice. And then he says, I could cook an egg on you. So in order to cook an egg, something has to be hot. He's calling her hot. What's the other one? Excuse me, green tea. Music for a sushi restaurant. Excuse me, green tea. Sounds like a, waiter, can I get a green tea? But just, excuse me, green tea? Thanks. Like that kind of. And then music for a sushi restaurant is just like, as a phrase, it's so specific. Just like, it's some sort of just like background pop music playing. That's what I'm thinking of. And that might not be what Harry Styles meant when he wrote the song. I am assuming he wrote this song. I do not know that he actually wrote the lyrics to that song. But it invokes some sort of imagery that's not just like, what does that have to do with this? Like, no, I have the picture of them in a restaurant. That invokes imagery to me. There is something being invoked. Now, further down the line of craziness in nonsense poetry, we have the Jabberwocky by Lewis Carroll from the book Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. I always want to say Alice in Wonderland. It's called Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. I'm going to read it. I'm going to give some explanations from the book itself for the first stanza. And hopefully by the end of this, you'll have some sort of idea of what I mean when I say nonsense poetry. So this is the Jabberwocky. 'Twas Brillig and the slithy toves did jeer and gimble in the wabe. All mimsy were the borogoves, and mome wraths outgrabe. Beware the Jabberwock, my son, the jaws that bite, the claws that catch. Beware the Jubjub bird, and shun the frumious Bandersnatch. He took his vorpal sword in hand, long time the Maxom foe he sought. So rested he by the tum-tum tree, and stood a while in thought. And as an uffish thought he stood, the Jabberwock, with eyes aflame, came whiffing through the tuggy wood, and burbled as it came. 1, 2, 1, 2, and through, the vorpal blade went snicker-snack. He left it dead, and with its head he went gallahumphing back. And hast thou slain the Jabberwock? Come to my arms, my beamish boy. A frabjous day, Callooh Calais, he chortled in his joy. 'Twas Brillig and the slithy toves did jeer and gimble in the wabe. All mimsy were the borogoves, and the mome wraths outgrabe. Obviously, this is a lot of made up words, hence my complete stumbling as I'm reading. But you can still see, especially in the second, third, fourth, and fifth stanzas, it's the first and last stanza that are repeated that give an explanation, but they're also the ones that make the least sense. But in those middle stanzas, you can see, oh, okay, Jabberwocky. It's a beast. He's got some sort of sword and he's going to go kill it. He does kill it. He chops off his head, which, you know, Queen of Hearts and all that, chopping off heads is too much in this world. But there is a story that makes sense here. He's telling his son, hey, go kill this beast. And he does, and he goes with the sword and he kills the beast. Got it. That makes sense. The problem is it's still nonsense, and there's a lot of words that you're like, oh, that's not English. Is this another language? No, it's just Lewis Carroll. Okay, cool. Here's an explanation of some of these from later in the story. One of the characters tells us, oh, well, this is what this means. So Brillig, 4 p.m. Slithy, live and slimy, so just slimy in my head. Toves, badger lizards with a corkscrew nose. So the first sentence, instead of 'twas Brillig and the slithy toves, reads, It was 4 p.m. and these thin and slimy badger lizards showed up. That's what it's saying. We have other ones, so like gyre is like to go round and round. Gimbal is to make holes. Wave is the grass under sundials. That one's specific. Mimsy is flimsy and miserable. Mome means lost. Raths is a green pig. That's where we get no, it's the eggs that are green, not the okay. Outgrabe means a bellow slash whistle slash sneeze. And Borogoves is a shabby looking mop bird. It's very Wonderlandian. So when you write nonsense poetry, you can do one of two things. You can write things that are kind of abstract, and they all have a common theme, even if you are the only one who knows what that theme is. When your reader reads that poem, you want to invoke certain imagery. It can be the night sky. You're writing about the night sky, and you're going to add in things that aren't real or things that you wouldn't typically think about the night sky. So like you wouldn't say the word star, or you wouldn't say shine as much as you would want to for the stars that shine. You would say like speckles of glass against a black blanket. It's the sky. Those are stars in the sky. Yeah, I just thought of that off the top of my head. And yeah, you can steal that for your poem. That's fine. Lastly, you can write a complete utter nonsense poem, a la the Jabberwocky. Because poems like this are so fun, but that's also harder for your reader to understand and for you to keep track of what made up words mean. If you are a make up your own word for a poem kind of person, go ahead. The word nerd was invented by Dr. Seuss. You can make up some words for your poem. That being said, I'm not forcing you to do that. So, prompt of the day, write a nonsense poem of any kind. Tell me a story. Describe a place as abstractly as you can. If you want to share that poem, you can send it to me on my Instagram at officialjustinstrikes. You can see my poems and all of my other writing stuff there, learn about my books. You can watch more from this series and this playlist over here. You can subscribe over here. I feel dorky doing this. And I'll see y'all next week.